of gender inequality in the workplace, we often talk about barriers, glass ceilings, sticky floors, concrete walls. But what if we flipped the metaphor? What if instead of being blocked, you were being lifted, silently, invisibly, without even asking for it? Not by talent alone, not by hard work alone, but by gender. Welcome back to the Personal Lens, where we explore the political through the personal. I'm your host, and today we are stepping into the gendered world of workplace dynamics, not where women are being blocked, but where men are being quietly fast tracked. Today, we are riding the glass escalator, a term that reveals a different kind of gender privilege, a privilege that's invisible even to the people benefiting from it, a term that flips the glass ceiling on its head. While women bang against the invisible ceiling in male dominated fields, men in female dominated professions are often quietly promoted, favored, and fast tracked to the top even when they don't seek leadership. There are subtle forces that shape who rises, who stalls, and who gets erased. From kitchens to classrooms, salons to social work, today's episode reveals the subtle, insidious ways patriarchy uplifts men, even in the most feminized spaces. This is the untold story of privilege in motion. So, what is the glass escalator? The glass ceiling, which we discussed in an earlier episode, is now a well known term. It refers to the invisible barrier that prevents women and marginalized genders from rising to top leadership roles. But in 1992, sociologist Christine L. Williams coined a new term, the glass escalator. Williams studied men working in traditionally feminine fields like nursing, librarianship, and elementary education, where she found was striking. Men were promoted more quickly, treated as leaders by default, and subtly nudged towards administrative roles, even when their female colleagues had more experience or stronger credentials. Despite being in the minority, men in these professions were not discriminated against. Quite the opposite. They were subtly groomed for promotion, encouraged to pursue leadership roles, assumed to be more competent. This phenomenon is not about merit, it's about perception, about the subconscious idea that leadership, authority, and success still look like a man, even in women led workplaces. And what she found was eye opening. In contrast, women in male dominated professions struggled for recognition, battled biases, and hit the now familiar glass ceiling. So, while women fight their way up, many men are quietly elevated even when they don't particularly want to be. The glass escalator, then, is not just about male advantage. It's about institutional trust in men as leaders and the devaluation of feminine labor, even within women dominated spaces. Let's bring this closer to home. Take the food industry, a perfect example of gender contradictions. Who cooks in the average Indian household? Women. Who dominates the elite high paying world of professional cooking? Men. The kitchen, when it's domestic, is women's work. But the kitchen, when it's commercial, becomes a space of masculine mastery. Think about it. Michelin stars, celebrity chefs, restaurant empires, most of these positions are occupied by men. Even though women make up a significant part of the food service workforce, especially in roles like prep cooks, line workers, and food service staff, men are far more likely to become head chefs, restaurant owners, or executive decision makers. In India, women are often employed in informal food businesses, catering, tiffin services, roadside stalls, but rarely do they own large restaurants or head commercial kitchens. When they do, it's considered exceptional. And here's the twist. When men enter food businesses, they are quickly taken more seriously. Their work is seen as entrepreneurial, innovative, artistic. Women doing the same work, homely, laborious, expected. Even in culinary schools, male students are more often encouraged to pursue fine dining or food styling, while women are channeled into bakery roles or home catering. The narrative becomes men are artists in the kitchen, women just cook. This is the glass escalator in action. Men are fast tracked upward even in spaces that are built on the backs of women's labor. This isn't accidental, it's systemic. Now let's look beyond kitchens. Nursing. It's female dominated field across the globe, but male nurses are often encouraged to take on supervisory roles, hospital administration or specializations in high-tech areas like surgery or emergency care. Christine Williams' study originally focused here. The reasoning: men are natural leaders. Patients trust male authority, or men are stronger for certain tasks, deeply gendered ideas that boost male advancement. Salons and beauty therapy. In beauty and wellness, another feminized industry, when men become hairstylists, makeup artists, or beauty influencers, they are often seen as trendsetters and aesthetic geniuses. Think of celebrity stylists or fashion designers. Women in the same roles often remain underpaid and invisible. Even in feminist or social justice organizations, male employees are often more visible at conferences, quoted more often in media, or placed in decision making roles. Their voice is seen as more neutral, more rational, even when the issues disproportionately affect women or queer communities. Again and again, we see that men are rewarded for simply existing in women's spaces, while women must overperform just to be seen. It is also to be noted that women in male dominated fields not only face the glass ceiling, they deal with hostility, exclusion, wage gaps, and sexual harassment. Now, let's talk about an example that doesn't just reveal privilege, but also caste, class, and invisibilization. The dhobi community in India, traditional washer folk, have historically performed the labor intensive work of washing clothes. Within this community, women and men have always had different roles. Women usually do the washing, drying, and folding. Men do the collecting, delivery, and most crucially, the ironing, which is highly visible and mobile labor. And over time, who becomes the face of the dhobi in public consciousness? The man with the iron, not the woman bent over buckets of soap and water. So, even within marginalized castes, there is gendered escalator where men are given access to visibility, mobility, and financial control, while women remain stuck in back-breaking labor, often unpaid or unacknowledged. This example is powerful because it shows how the glass escalator doesn't only work in white collar jobs or urban offices, it works anywhere gender assumptions intersect with labor. So, how does this escalator work so smoothly? Let's break it down. Token advantage. In female dominated spaces, men become tokens, but in good way. They stand out, and because they are rare, they are seen as valuable. People assume they bring something extra to the table even when they don't. Assumed leadership. Masculinity is still subconsciously tied to authority. So even when women are doing the emotional, administrative, and technical heavy lifting, men are offered roles with more power and visibility. Avoidance of female tasks. In Christine Williams' research, male nurses often avoided the most demanding caregiving duties and were quietly shifted to administrative or tech based roles, seen as more appropriate for them. Protection from gender bias. Ironically, while women are penalized for their gender, men entering women's work are often rewarded for breaking the mold. They are praised for their sensitivity, patience, or humility, traits that women are expected to have but rarely rewarded for. But sometimes the escalator backfires. And this escalator doesn't lift all men. Race, caste, religion, class, and sexuality all affect how privilege works. In India, a Savarna man entering teaching may ride the glass escalator far quicker than a Dalit man in the same job. Queer men may be viewed with suspicion in caregiving roles rather than rewarded. So it's important to note that not all men benefit equally from the glass escalator. Dalit men, queer men, Muslim men, disabled men all face compounded forms of discrimination that may deny them this invisible lift. The escalator often only works for men who are already seen as acceptable leaders, usually upper caste, heterosexual, able bodied. In fact, Williams later revised her own theory, stating that the glass escalator often only applies to white, straight, middle class men. For everyone else, the elevator malfunctions. And sometimes men in feminine spaces also face backlash, accusations of being less manly, or isolation from male peers. In fact, gender stereotypes can make men feel isolated or emasculated in feminized professions. But even with these challenges, institutional forces still push them upward more often than not towards leadership, respect, and visibility. So, in essence, men may feel uncomfortable in women dominated fields, but women are actively punished in male dominated ones. The invisible cost for women. So while the glass escalator lifts some, it also quietly flattens others. Women in these professions often find themselves trapped in mid level roles, burdened with caretaking responsibilities, administrative drudgery, and emotional labor, all without the credit. A female school teacher might have been training other staff, running midday meals, and mentoring students for years, but never be seen as leadership material. Meanwhile, a younger male colleague might be asked to represent the school at a district level meeting. Why? Because he seems more confident. Confidence is rewarded in men, but in women, it's often called arrogance. Now, let's take a quick detour into pop culture. In Tare Zameen Par, remember how the male art teacher played by Amir Khan becomes the savior figure, while the existing female teachers are portrayed as ineffective or overly strict. Or in Gunjan Saxena, where the protagonist's ambition in a male dominated space is questioned at every step, while her male colleagues are assumed to be natural in combat roles. Even in storytelling, we often position male exceptions as heroes, while women's excellence is expected, normalized, and rarely spotlighted. Why this matters? The glass escalator may seem harmless at first. After all, isn't promotion a good thing? So why should we care? But here's the catch. It reinforces patriarchal norms, even in spaces that should challenge them. It rewards male presence, not performance. And it disincentivizes change because the imbalance remains hidden. For women, it creates a constant pressure to prove oneself. For men, it creates blind spots about privilege, about meritocracy, about equity. It doesn't just keep women down, it also keeps rewarding men, even when they are the minority. It tells us success is still gendered, leadership is still coded masculine, and women's work, even when done by men, only becomes visible because it's no longer done by women alone. The glass escalator isn't loud, it doesn't announce itself like a barrier, it hums quietly, beneath the surface, lifting some while others are left struggling. So, next time you see someone rising quickly in a space where others stagnate, ask what systems are silently at work, who gets a head start, and who's told to keep proving themselves. The glass escalator is dangerous not just because it lifts some unfairly, but because it hides the structural biases that keep others down. If we only celebrate men for entering women's work while continuing to see women as mere workers and not leaders, we are reinforcing the very same power dynamics we say we want to break. Let's stop applauding the right and start questioning the machinery. Until we do that, ambition will remain a privilege, not a right. Thank you so much for being with me through this episode of The Personal Lens. This is Jayanti signing off for now, but I do hope this episode helped you see invisible privilege a little more clearly. If you found this enlightening and if this episode made you pause, reflect, or rage a little, share it, talk about it, and keep the conversation going. Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and do leave your thoughts and comments at the email provided in the description. Until next time, keep questioning, keep noticing, and keep looking through the personal lens.